Hey, what's up you guys? Today I wanted to do a video discussing Scythe by Neal Shusterman. So I just read Scythe. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought all of the characters were really strong, and I loved the writing style. I thought that it really built tension really well, and it helped to make this book where it's in a world where death isn't something that really happens anymore. It helped to make that fear of death still be imminent and still feel real. So this book takes place in a world where death has essentially been cured. All of the world's problems have been dealt with, and there is this thunderhead that controls everything, and life is just great. And there are scythes who are separate from the thunderhead, and their job is to go and glean people. Gleaning is essentially killing, and they do that to help curb population because this world can only hold so many people. So they go and they kill people who need to be killed in order to control the population. And this book follows 2 Scythe apprentices, Rowan and Citra, and they go and be an apprentice for a Scythe. At the end, one of them is going to be the one who's going to get the slot, and the other one is going to get the boot. So it's a really great book. Really loved the premise, and I really loved the writing style. As I said, each of the chapters starts off with an entry from someone's journal, and I absolutely loved that. I thought that it was really cool, and it made me theorize while I was reading the book about what was going to go down. And I absolutely loved the villain in the story. I love how he was introduced. I thought that it was such a strong scene, and it really sticks out in my head. As far as things that I did not like with this book, there was not a lot to complain about. But there is one thing that really sticks in my mind that I wish that I had gotten in this book, and maybe some of the comedic moments just didn't hit the mark with me, but I felt like I was missing some comedy. I felt like I was missing some lightness and some levity. It felt very tense, very dark most of the time, and that's fine. It's just sometimes you need that little bit of comedic breathing room to really fall in love with something. So like, for example, with the first Avengers movie, there was the whole ending climactic scene where they had to stop and close the wormhole. But then after that, you get the Hulk taking Loki and going puny human and throwing him around, and it was just such a funny moment that really helped to bring a little bit of light to the darkness that had just happened, you know. And so I feel like that's what this book was missing. It was missing that Hulk throwing around Loki moment. Oh, and something that I didn't mention earlier is I also really liked the plot twist. I thought that they were all really strong, and I always didn't see them coming, or if I did, I was anticipating the plot twist where I wanted to see it happen because I wanted to know what would happen as an effect of it. So the plot twists were really a great thing for this book, I think, because it really kept you on the edge of your seat. So those are my general thoughts on this book. I'm about to launch into some spoiler thoughts on this book because I really want to discuss some of the scenes with you guys. So if you have not read this book, leave now or forever hold your peace because I'm about to hop into some spoils. Okay, so now we're my spoilery thoughts. I wanted to start off with the references to the scientists. I really loved it, and I honestly want to go through and Google the scientists that they reference and see if I can match anything to their personality traits, or see if I can come up with the reasons why they picked their scientists. Or maybe it wasn't just scientists, actually, now that I think about it, but it was just people in history who made an impact on history. So comment down below who your patron would be. Okay, so let's next launch into the second chapter, which is 0.303%. That chapter, oh my god, I absolutely adored it. I thought it was the best way to introduce a character ever, and I thought it was such a cool way of showing and not telling what this world is about and what is going on here, because it would have been so easy for that to have been put in a paragraph and thrown in somewhere. But Neal made that scene, Neal Shusterman made that scene, and he set it up so well, and I absolutely loved it. I thought that it was just so eerie and terrifying, and oh my god, imagining being that 0.303%, like, and I also loved how this book was able to use Citra and Rowan and juxtapose them, because this happened a lot throughout the novel where they would just be put back and forth between each other, and so then you could see how one person was dealing with something and the other person was dealing with something. Especially early on in the book, I really liked it because they were in the same space, and so seeing them responding to the same situations, and then their personalities within that was really cool, especially in the 3rd chapter where they are being asked if they want to be apprentices and they both have to come to this decision as to whether or not they want to. I just loved how that juxtaposition was done because it really showed the differences in their personalities and in their characters, and I feel like that was an early indicator for where they would go later on in the story. And at this point in the novel, I was kind of more leaning towards liking Citra than I was liking Rowan, but you know, my feelings, I don't know who I like more now. I started Thunderhead, I'm like 50 pages in and I don't know who I like more. Okay, so now let's talk about when Gudred, whatever his name was, the villain, his name starts with G, I'm gonna call him Mr. G because I cannot pronounce names. So when we got introduced to Mr. G, oh my god, that scene, I was just like, oh shit. I was like, this is the Darth Vader moment. This is the moment where Darth Vader walks into the New Hope ship and he just goes berserk. And I absolutely loved that scene. I thought it was the best introduction for a villain I've seen in a long ass time, and it really just brought me to that first time of watching A New Hope, seeing Darth Vader just walk out, and it was so great. I loved it. I mean, I don't like the thought of people dying, but I loved that scene. I think that it just showcased his character so well, and I think that's one of the strongest things that this book does, is it's got scenes where it's a pretty concise scene, but it showcases people's characters so well. I also really loved Esme and how she was introduced into the book, and I was so curious what her role was gonna be, and she was probably one of those characters where I just didn't know the entire time, and so she really had me on the edge of my seat, especially because she was a child, and for some reason, whenever I see children, I just associate them with creepy serial killer children from horror movies, because that is how I grew up, watching horror movies. I also was like so shook when Scythe Faraday died, because I was just not expecting that, and I thought that it was such an interesting moment, and I could not imagine being in that place where like people knock on the door and they're just like, hey, this person's dead. I just was like so shook because I didn't expect it. And then how Rowan and Citra were split up, I absolutely loved that as well. I thought that it was really cool seeing them both deal with their different situations. And Rowan, I was so scared the entire time he was gonna go dark. When he snapped Citra's neck, I was just like, no, baby, no. I was like, don't do this, baby. And it was at this point that I had to take a breath and take a moment from the book. I was there for their relationship. I really liked how it was developing. I do feel like I wish I would have gotten some more scenes of them just kind of bantering so that I could see that chemistry a little bit more. But I did like how their relationship was developing overall aside from that. And I just, oh my god, I couldn't deal with what he did, and I couldn't deal, like, I was so scared that he was gonna go dark. It seemed like there were so many moments where he was gonna go dark, and I'm so glad that he didn't. And I loved how the book ended and where that put his character, because so curious to see what he's like, where he's killing all the Scythes in Thunderhead. I also really like Citra being with Scythe Curry. So Scythe Curry, I thought that she was a much better mentor character than Faraday. With Faraday, I didn't feel like I got a lot from him, but with Curry, I feel like I got a little bit of personality from her. I feel like she wanted things, and she, you know, had an interesting story, and I was really curious about her, and I liked her so much more than Faraday. So I was actually glad after Faraday had died and we got these new mentor characters, because I thought that it just really changed the dynamic of the story, and I love them so much more. Not Godard, like, I mean, he was a bad guy, like, he was not a good mentor, but I thought that seeing him in this mentor role was really cool, and it really added a depth to his character that I don't feel like we would have otherwise gotten, and it really showed how terrifying he really was and what type of control he had. And I thought that that was really cool that this book did that, because not every book do you get that kind of sense of the villain, and I just thought he was such a strong villain, and you don't normally get villains that are quite that strong or have that much motivation or have a three-dimensional character. A lot of times they are just bad for the sake of being bad, and this, it was just out of the park. Okay, so that was my thoughts on the book Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I definitely recommend it if you have not read it yet. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I post new videos. Comment down below what you thought about Scythe and let's discuss it a little bit more. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!